This is the homework helper for Chapter 2, Section 8 in the workbook entitled Least Common Multiple. Okay, so let's start with question 1. As you can see in 1 through 21, you're doing all the same thing, all the same direction. You're finding the least common multiple. So we'll go through the different techniques here. In question number 1, where we're finding the least common multiple, we're finding the least common multiple of 8 and 10. One of the techniques here is to list the multiples, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to list the multiples of 8 and 10. So multiples, remember, think of a times table. Don't confuse this with factors and greatest common factor. It's easy to do because the problems look a lot alike, but that's not what we're doing. Multiples of 8 start at 8 and get bigger. So 16 and 24 and 32 and 40 and 48 and so on. Right? And if you're not seeing how I got those, this is 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4, 8 times 5, 8 times 6. The next one would be 8 times 7, and so on. Multiples of 10 would be 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and so on. And in this case, there's a reason it's called least common multiples. We're looking for the smallest number that's on both lists. And as you can see here, 40 is on both of the lists. So least common multiple of 8 and 10 is going to be 40. I want you to note that I'm pointing that out, the least part, because there are other numbers that will end up being on both of the lists. 80, for instance, is the next number that's going to pop up on both of these lists, but that's not the smallest number on both lists. So while 80 is a common multiple, or just a multiple even, it's not the least common multiple. And that's what we're talking about here, and that's why we're answering with 40. Now, as you saw in class, there is another way, but oddly, even though it's called least common multiple, we have to go back to factor trees to do it. So let's look at that in number 2, where we're finding the least common multiple of 10 and 15. So I'm going to quick do some factor trees, but these are two really easy problems. 10 is 5 and 2, 15 is 5 and 3. Okay, so what you want to do is circle what's in common. Again, this really looks like greatest common factor, but here's where it's going to change in what we do now. You're going to multiply together any row of the circles and all of the uncircleds. So I'm going to pick a row, top, bottom, doesn't matter, pick the top. What'd you circle in that row? Well, you circle the 5. And you're going to multiply that with everything that's not circled. Doesn't matter if it's a top row, bottom row. If you didn't circle it, it goes into the computation. So the 3 and the 2, both of which are not circled, have to go into this computation. And so I'm going to do 5 times 3 is 15 times 2 is 30, and that's the least common multiple of 10 and 15. Again, it does not matter which technique you employ. Use whatever is most advantageous for you.